By the end of this module, you will understand the context and role of each of the following within the attraction, recruitment, selection and induction of employees. 1. Managing the acquisition of employees, talent acquisition and management. 2. Resource requirements. 3. Job description. 4. Person specification. 5. Equality, diversity, discrimination, advertising and interview potential pitfalls. 6. Applications, forms and CVs. 7. Interviews. 8. Induction. 9. Contract and statement of employment. 10. Legislation in relation to recruitment. There are activities within this module and a quiz at the end. As many organisations operate on a global 24/7 basis, the need for competent employees has grown, especially those involved in customer service, retail and support roles. Telephone and virtual support has grown exponentially as companies outsource services or rely on home working and shift working for greater efficiencies. Humans are still required despite all the new technology. The need for the right motivational and cultural fit is also vital. Let's look at the current context of sourcing, recruiting and retaining talent, for example, a talent management strategy. Right now, there is an issue with identifying and retaining key talent. As the workforce is one of an organisation's biggest expenditures, a weak recruitment and talent management strategy results in mediocre workforce performance and impacts the bottom line. In pure economic terms, as unemployment drops, consumer confidence increases, and this is now happening in the UK and the USA. Workers will be quietly looking and checking out what is happening in their specialist areas. As the momentum grows from passive job seeking to more active job seeking, potential candidates start to update their CVs, network more, and ensure that their skills are up to date on LinkedIn and other business profiles. When the workforce is in this mode, they are more open to change, and this leads to a higher recruitability. Marketing and recruitment has to work hand in hand with business needs and objectives to ensure a clear, concise message is sent out. Talent management strategies, from role identification to onboarding, needs to be joined up. If the chain of events or messages is broken at any point, the objective to attract, recruit and retain the best talent will fail to deliver at the levels required. Unless an organisation is a great place to work, companies will struggle to hold on to the best people. By the same token, the employer brand is a powerful means of attracting high potential candidates. The employer brand will need to stand out and be recognisable and relatable. Anything less and you've already lost the talent war. The selection of a new team member is a major investment for both the organisation and the candidate. Developing and maintaining a selection system that yields solid returns, in other words, productive employees who enjoy their responsibilities and seek opportunities to continuously employ their jobs, is critical to the success of every organisation. The most effective selection systems share 3 goals. Number 1, accuracy. Number 2, equity. Number 3, buy-in. We'll explore these in more depth and then look at the issues which could arise from not following an effective selection system. Accuracy is the ability of your selection process to validly predict applicants' job performance. A recruitment process should be a practical, consistent, legally credible system that provides a firm foundation for accurate hiring decisions and gives managers the tools and skills to gather and evaluate data effectively. It should explore the difference between performance and potential. Equity is the assurance that a selection system gives every qualified applicant a fair and equal chance to be selected. An equitable selection system is based on valid requirements that are applied consistently. Uses the same job-related hiring standards for all applicants. Screens out applicants for job-related reasons only, not because of their diversity. Buy-in is the extent to which the people involved in the selection process perceive its worth. Interviewers and candidates buy into a selection system if their time during the selection process is well spent. Everyone benefits by going through the selection process, regardless of the hiring decision made. The image of the organisations and the dignity of all applicants are preserved. Organisations are under increasing pressure to achieve these goals. The total commitment of the organisation at all levels to a fair and equitable recruitment and hiring process is essential. There's no room for bias in terms of gender, race, religion, colour, sexual orientation, age or disability. As soon as resource is identified as a requirement, the process of selection begins, whether the organisation is recruiting from within or externally. Short-term contractors can be used, or agency temps, but long-term, an organisation will recruit to permanent roles to feed their talent pipeline. A recruitment requisition, the business case for the recruitment, will be prepared by the recruiting manager and signed off by a member of the leadership team, highlighting the reasons for recruitment, and this will be budgeted and logged within the overall resourcing strategy for the organisation. Looking internally first is an obvious choice. A good talent management strategy will use their performance management system to identify and develop talent for targeted roles. As roles become free, a ready bank of potential employees can then be assessed. It is advised to think best practice and advertise all roles as part of a fair and robust recruitment process. Roles can be advertised internally, via internal information boards, via newsletters, the internal job site, and by email. Organisations need an effective selection process that identifies people who can and will do the job over a period of time. Without an effective selection system, organisations risk 1. Increased costs. A hiring mistake costs an estimated 40 to 60% of the position's total annual compensation. If you consider training, subsidised benefits, pension contributions, employer NI and relocation costs. 2. Hidden costs. Let's also filter in advertising costs. Administrative costs to process all candidates, candidate travel costs, if paid by the organisation, and interviewer assessor costs. 3. Low morale. Teams hit a low in morale, which can impact performance when an employee leaves. 4. Poor hiring decisions. Poor hiring decisions affect people outside of the organisations, family members, especially if relocation is involved. 5. Poor publicity. A negative experience could be shared via social media and could become viral. In reality, early on, there will be a competency analysis for the role the candidate had applied for. The job analyst, usually within HR or organisational design, uses the following process. Activities, behaviours, knowledge and motivations for a target job or role are gathered from people working in the target job, their leaders and others familiar with the job. The activities, behaviours, knowledge and motivations for the target job or role are analysed and grouped into a tentative list of competencies. Managers and supervisors familiar with the job or role rate each competency on how important it is to job success and then rank the competencies in order of importance. A statistical analysis is applied to the ratings and rankings, and a final list of competencies is produced. These are the more common competencies a competency analysis will arrive at. This is probably one of the most explored soft skills. It encompasses reading, writing, oral communication, the ability to deliver presentations, and the art of listening. Real listening includes the ability to understand and accurately position what is being said. Today's work environment is hectic to say the least, with leaner structures and less resources. Technology helps in some ways, but handling pressure and being able to make the right judgments on high or low priority workload is an essential skill. Many employers place this skill high on their want list because the highly competitive marketplace requires constant review of our offerings and a willingness to be curious about possibilities and change or adaptation for the better. Being able to critically analyse and question is important, as is the ability to see the irrelevant and relevant data within information. Organisations which are team-based tend to be more effective and efficient than those that are not. The need to be open and willing to cooperate and collaborate, either face-to-face or virtually, with your co-workers, clients and other stakeholders is essential. Remember that teams are a great way of mining talents and skills that might be missing in individuals. These lie at the heart of any forward-looking organisation. The habit of indulging in some blue sky thinking, of challenging the status quo, or creating innovative solutions to current and future issues is a highly sought after trait. The ability to provide a quality customer service, listening and responding appropriately to customers and delivering to their satisfaction. The ability to lead and motivate others and create direction for others as well as oneself is a trait which many employers require in today's working environment. Some people are detail-oriented, others are not. Some roles require detailed information, while others don't. Just remember that very often the devil is in the details. Employees need to be able to discern what is and what's not important, rather than ignoring the boring details. Employers like employees they can rely on in order to complete activities, rather than having to micromanage each task or activity. Provided that employees are headed in the right direction, this is a great trait to possess. Sometimes employers want employees to be independent, energetic and a self-starter, and other times they want them to follow instructions. Being able to follow set instructions is a skill when dealing with known issues, and creativity isn't required. Creativity and innovation are always important, but there are times when an employee needs to focus on current issues. They can use analytical and creative skills to resolve issues and stick with an issue until it is resolved. This is another of those double-edged swords. Depending on the role, this can be a vital skill, or one which might detract from the need to follow processes and procedures rigorously. The employee should decide when it is suitable to work independently or seek the team to work on a problem or activity. Number 14, initiative. This is largely about making and taking opportunities which will benefit the employer and help to keep the business at the forefront of the latest developments. In today's multicultural environment, multicultural sensitivity and awareness are an essential skill to many employers. This skill is essential, not just for legal reasons. In an international trade, it can mean the difference between success or failure, while in multicultural UK, an understanding, acceptance and welcoming of different cultural norms can bring a rich and powerful mix of ideas, skills and knowledge to an organisation. Diversity includes multiculturalism. This is about ensuring that the highest possible work standards are adhered to in order to deliver the optimal service to customers. Content of advertisements and interview questions can be discriminatory, which could result in a legal claim against the recruiting company. An advertisement cannot discriminate on the basis of any protected characteristics, such as age or race. For example, you might want to recruit someone who speaks German. However, you do not write you are recruiting a German. You write that you are recruiting for a German-speaking candidate. It's the language skill that's required, not the nationality. For this reason, care needs to be taken with language in a job advert. Phrases such as recent graduate or highly experienced should be avoided unless these are genuine requirements of the job, as they may be seen to be discriminatory on the basis of age. Gender-specific terms could also be problematic. Using barmaid or handyman, for instance, implies that the job is only available to one or other sex. Indirect discrimination in a job advert is also possible. If it's requiring something that applies to all, but disadvantages a particular group because of a protected characteristic, for example, saying that applicants must wear company hats, may be seen to disadvantage some whose religion demands them to have certain other headwear. Advertising only to a specific group, for example in a men's magazine, may also constitute indirect discrimination. Other questions which interviewers cannot ask include anything related to any arrests or convictions. For certain jobs, they are entitled to run a Criminal Records Bureau (CRB) check on you prior to the interview. However, any findings from that should never form part of their interview technique. Questions about any membership or affiliations with any organisations should also not be asked at interviews, unless they are directly related to any problem they might foresee, in terms of your time commitments and how they might affect your ability to do the job. Questions about height and weight are also discriminatory, unless the job is exempt, in terms of being able to have a certain minimum height requirement. The rule is: steer clear of nationality, age, race, gender, sexual preferences, ethnicity, marital status, disability, pregnancy and maternity, religion or belief. Questions can be worded to check that candidates can fulfil the job requirements, for example, qualifications or lifting, as well as checking, very importantly, that your candidate has a legal right to work in the UK. In this case, the onus is on the employer to carry out adequate checks and obtain original proof, or face a fine or civil penalty. Illegal workers include students with expired visas or students working more hours than they're allowed to, people who work on a visitor's visa, an organisation's success and competitiveness depends upon its ability to embrace diversity and realise the benefits. As a starting point, diversity allows individual talents and experiences to come to the fore, and a diverse workforce which feels comfortable communicating varying points of view provides a larger pool of ideas and experiences. It also offers a wide range of skills and experiences, including languages or cultural understanding, and allows a company to provide service to customers on a global basis. Issues mainly arise when perceptual, cultural, and language barriers aren't overcome. Ineffective communication of key objectives results in confusion, lack of teamwork, and low morale. Implementing successful diversity in the workplace initiatives require an acceptance of change, forward-thinking leadership, communication with all employees, a robust policy, and a plan of execution which is monitored once implemented. In the UK, practices and procedures are in place to ensure all workers are treated equally and given the same opportunities regardless of their age, race, sexuality, gender, disability or culture, or indeed anything else that could be discriminated against. This is known as practicing equality, and strict processes need to be adopted to allow for equality in status, rights and opportunities. Companies in the UK are legally required to follow a set of practices to ensure discrimination is eradicated and expectations of equality are met in the workforce. The legislation is wide-ranging and comprehensive, essentially making sure companies adhere to the minimum standards set out by a variety of discrimination acts, including the Equality Act, Race Relations Act, Sex Discrimination Act, Disability Discrimination Act, Human Rights Act. So as an example, an employer cannot advertise a role with a pay scale for males and a different pay scale for females. Next, we will go through job applications. Now take time to review your notes, highlight any key points that you need to develop prior to starting the next section.